I have a number of people, I guess, who I work with who are that, I would say, who have started in one place, which you could call in a certain level of pathology, if you want to use the clinical terms. The presenting issues were, within the DSM categories or classifications, if you like, which to me are, obviously originally started in the military just to help describe certain behaviours. They're not actually solid entities. They're simply, continua of which we are all on somewhere. Which is, for example, the borderline narcissist thing. They're two separate disorders, if you like, or personality descriptions. But I almost like to put them in not necessarily as much constructivity here, but I like to create a continuum between borderline and narcissist. We're somewhere, all of us, somewhere along that. Just because we haven't hit 5 of the 9 criteria to be diagnosed, or 7, we'll recognise 1 or 2 in most of them. So point being, people can present, and in my case, the people that have presented with some or a lot of those, and to have watched them in their initial stages of complete struggle in that, to transcend that sense of self that's so disintegrated or deteriorated or disturbed and upset, to now even not identify with that as a way of being, and to kind of have come now from a place that's beyond that, which I probably would call awakening to their nature within. That's not what is that lovely line I use in mindfulness? I'm having the thought that ... versus I am such and such, and having watched people get that distinction, so that now they're not that thought, that feeling, that sensation, as a first insight, and then to then get to the place to where they create this gap between thoughts, and then in that gap, over time, they have an experience of themselves beyond all the things that were so pathological, you could say. And even though those subsequent to that insight, that pathology may arise, there's somewhere now an understanding I'm not that. Wow, that happens, and yes, that still happens in me. And there's somewhere a background awareness that I'm not just that. And then over time, having watched them cultivate the place that is not that, to where they end up then being able to just rest peacefully and amazingly and radiantly in that way of being. And they know now that that's actually who I am. And it's as the Buddhists would probably call that, like at that point, the end of suffering. There's no self there to be disturbed. Yes, as they say, no ego, no problem. So that's my experience with the people that I work with over time, and it's always an exquisite experience to be with.